Very good morning to Shreya's live class online. Today, I'll take a lecture on biology, under which I'll be explaining control and coordination. Let's move on. Control and coordination. Let me brief a small introduction or brief about control and coordination. Any physiological activity of all the organism requires a steady and correct activity which is known as control, which can be under control in other way around. So whenever we feel hungry or whenever we are doing some work, we do it correctly accordingly, and to which coordination being done. Okay, to which the sense organs or the whole body coordinates to complete the work. Moving on to the importance of coordination and compound. So what happened here is control and coordination go simultaneously, right hand as in left hand manner. So with the definition, a living being does not live in isolation. It has to constantly interact with its external environment and has to respond properly for its survival. Exactly. We live in nature where we have to interact with all kinds of natural stimuli like rain, summer, and etc. So we have to interact accordingly. Whenever we feel cold, we cover our body with external clothes. As well, in compared to animals, they have thick fur which cover their body during winter season. So like that, we react to the stimuli in the environment. That happens whenever there is a coordination between the brain and the nervous system and overall body. So an example has been given here. So in a wildlife life, a lion is a non-vegetarian or a carnivorous animal. It preys on the deer. So as soon as it sees the deer, the mind gives a signal to attack the deer and reach it on and have it as a dinner or lunch and so on. So at the same time, the deer should be alert and aware that it should not get preyed by a lion or any other wild cat. So simultaneously, both the animals will be alert in their environment or habitat where it can survive. So isolation cannot be observed in any of the such natural environment or natural habitat. So moving on to the nervous system. So the coordination here is the interaction, how we interact with the external stimuli. Stimuli is the reaction which we come across. Stimulus is the interaction we come across. We does not sit idly the whole day, isn't it? So we have to interact with our environment or our surrounding society. So the main conscience and the main system here which help us to coordinate is nervous system. Usually, as soon as we talk about nervous system, it's make us understand that the involvement is from brain as well as the nervous system and spinal cord. So let us understand via a definition. The nervous system is composed of specialized tissues called nervous tissue. The nerve cells or the neurons is the functional unit of the nervous system. So a system is being impact or it's been developed in all the multicellular organisms which is called as nervous system, and the basic cell of this nervous system is called as neurons or nerve cells. So the basic cells, keep this in mind, the basic cells of a nervous system is neurons. So it is the nervous system which is mainly responsible for control and coordination in complex animals. So the signal is being given by the sensory organ to the nervous system, and from nervous system it's moved on to the brain, and the brain initiate the action whether to withdraw from the stimuli or to act on the stimuli of the environment. So let me explain you what is a neuron is or how the basic structure of nervous system consists of. So neuron is a highly specialized cell which is responsible for the transmission of nerve impulses. Nerve impulse is nothing but the signals what we receive from the sensory organs. Usually we know that there are 5 types of sensory organs: hearing, sighting, tasting, touching and feeling. So the impulses is being received by neurons, and the neuron consists of the following parts. So here is a schematic representation of a neurons which consists of a structure where we can see the dendritic cells, the cyton, the myelin sheath and the axons. Let me explain you each part of these nerve cells. Dendritic cells. Let me start with this cyton or cell body. Cell body or cyton is something what star shaped. So you can see here it's a star shaping structure. So it protrudes out of the margin. So you can see here hair-like structures which is nothing but the dendrites which make us or which receive the signals from the environment via the sensory sensations of the sensory organs. So these hair-like structures are called dendrites. Dendrites receive the nerve impulses. So moving on to the axon. As you can see, it is at the end. It means it's a tail. So this is a tail of the neuron. It ends in the several hair-like structures called axon terminals. The axon terminal relay nerve impulses. So we should make it clear. Dendrites receive the nerve impulses or signals, where axon terminals gives out the signals to the neighboring cells. So myelin sheaths. You can see here a sheath is being present in the neuron. There is an insulator cover around the axon. This is called myelin sheath. This myelin sheath insulates the axon against nerve impulses from the surrounding. Sometimes the response will be so fast and so much energy will be produced so that dendritic receives a huge energy. And while passing this energy, there are chances the cell may get damaged or the cell may get break. To isolate or to avoid this breakage of cell, the myelin sheath helps to reduce the energy and clearly relay the energy or the signal from dendrites to axon terminals. So here is a clear picture of neurons, how the structure is and how the mechanism is. So before I tell the types of neurons, I want to make it clear. You may be wondering that how can one small cell can pass out the signal to another cell or neighboring neuron cell. So what happened? For an example, just imagine there is another cell next to the first neuron. Here is another neuron. So dendrites receive a signal. It passes through here to axon terminal. From axon terminal, the another cell in which dendrites is present receive the signals from axon terminal. So this type of association is called as synapses. So keep in mind, synapses helps in the transfer of the signal or nerve impulses between the cells of between two nerve cells or multiple nerve cells. So moving on to the types of neurons. So sensory neurons, as the definition say, these neurons receive signals from a sense organs. Obviously, the sense organs are present throughout the body, in eyes, ears, in our hands, taste buds, and so many other places. Motor neurons. These neurons send signal to muscles and glands. Usually, skins consist of multiple layers. Along with that, few motor neurons are also produced in millions. It does not mean that few means in few numbers, but it will be in millions and trillions of cells. For example, whenever a mosquito sits on your skin, you easily sense which part and where the mosquito is sitting. You immediately pass your hand and try to hit the mosquito or wave it away, isn't it? That's happened due to motor neurons. This is the exact action occurring where you can analyze and stimulate the mosquito's reaction and where you can isolate on which part of your body the mosquito is sitting. Associate neurons. These neurons relay the signal between sensory neurons and motor neurons. I'll take the previous example of the mosquito itself. So you can see on my right hand there's a mosquito. Here, due to motor neurons, sensory neurons, I receive the signal that there is a mosquito sitting on my right hand. With the motor neurons, it passes to the muscles, other parts of the muscles. And associate neurons help the signal to pass from the hand to my brain so that I can react immediately. And this whole reaction occurs in fraction of seconds. So associated neurons pass a signal from the origin of stimuli to the brain where it can ripple or reply the signals whether to hit the mosquito or way off the mosquito. So these three neurons act simultaneously or side by side, and the reaction occurs within fraction of seconds. So, before going to the nervous system in humans, I want to put some multiple choice questions, like the questions can be asked is types of neurons, explain the types of neurons. So you can mention it as sensory neurons, motor neurons, association neurons, and which is the dash is the functional unit of nerve system, that is neuron or nerve cells or nervous tissue is dash types of tissues made in nervous system is nervous tissue. You may be wondering, such a small neuron can produce such a beautiful signal. How come? You may be wondering the size, the diameter of this particular cell. So it is usually 1 micron, that is 0.1 millimeter in size. Such a particle or minute cell which reacts very simultaneously and very quick. I can put this, if I am not wrong, the signal of neurons are much faster when compared to the speed of light. Moving on to the human nervous system. So the nervous system in humans can be divided into two main parts, the central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. So every part in biology consists of divisions and division and division. As in nature's law, cell division has to occur and function of each cell varies. So here also nervous system consists of two different types of system, namely central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Let us see what's there in this system. So central nervous system is composed of brain and spinal cord. The brain controls all the function in human body. The spinal cord works as a relay channel from signal between the brain and the peripheral nervous system. So always keep in mind, students, that whenever central system comes into picture, there is only two things comes into mind, that is brain and spinal cord. So brain helps into monitoring or functioning of all the mechanism or all the activities of day-to-day life, along with the activating the spinal cord, because the spinal cord is the backbone of the vertebrates or human being, which help us to locomotion, help us to move around for the particular activity. So it relays the signals. So once the signal is being received from the brain, immediately spinal cord responds to it. So let's see peripheral nervous system. The peripheral nervous system is composed of cranial nerves and spinal nerves. So cranial nerves are the nerves which arises from the brain, and spinal nerves arises from the spinal cord. So there are 12 pairs of cranial nerves. So the brain give rise to 12 pairs of cranial nerves, which only goes into the head region. It does not go down to the other parts of the organs. It only be adhere to the surface of the head region. There are 33 pairs of spinal nerves. The spinal nerves comes out of the spinal cord and go to the organs which are below the head region. So spinal cord, as you can see, the spinal cord is in length. The length and the width of the spinal cord is huge, and overall the body is supported by the spinal cord. Hence, 31 pairs of spinal cord nerves arises and move on to the all parts of the other organs in the body. So another one, apart from central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, there is another system called autonomous nervous system. So the name itself says autonomous, independently. The autonomous nervous system is composed of a chain of nerve ganglia. Ganglia is a singular, where ganglion is a plural. Ganglion means a groups of nerve cells or neurons, or bunch of neurons, which runs along the spinal cord. The whole spinal cord consists of ganglions, which means the whole spinal cord is covered or attached with neurons, multiple trillions of neurons. It controls all the involuntary actions in human body. The autonomous nervous system can be divided into two parts. So before moving on to the autonomous nervous system parts, let me give a small introduction about involuntary action and voluntary actions. Voluntary action is the will of the organism. For example, if I want to walk, I want to swim, that's according to my will. Whereas involuntary actions occur independently without our will, like breathing as well heart rate. It is not under control. When it works throughout the day, throughout the night, throughout the life. Respiration is autonomously controlled. Without our will, it functions. So, autonomous nervous system consists of two parts, namely sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. To differentiate these two systems in a simpler manner is, sympathetic nervous system is active in nature, whereas parasympathetic nervous system is inactive, not exactly inactive, it reduces the activity. In a simpler way, active and reducing. So let's see definition here. This part of the autonomous nervous system heightens the activity of an organ as per the needs. So it activates the activity of the organs. Like I have quoted here an example. During running, there is an increased demand for oxygen by the body. This is fulfilled by an increased breathing rate and increased heart rate. The sympathetic nervous system works to increase the breathing rate and heart rate in this case. So it's natural that whenever we run, we need more and more energy, and this energy is activated or brought up by sympathetic nervous system. So let's go on to the other part of parasympathetic nervous system. As I told you, it relaxes or reduces the activity. So this part of autonomous nervous system slows down the activity of an organ and thus has a calming effect. So during sleep, the breathing rate slows down and so does the heart rate. So here we can see that the heart rate and respiration rates down whenever we are sleeping or whenever we are too tired, we go under rest. Such during that activity of sleep or during sleeping, we come across with parasympathetic nervous system, which reduces the activity of all the organs and calms the organs nervous system and relax the overall body. So just a few multiple choice questions. What is the functional unit of nervous system? That is neurons. Again, another question. The nervous system is composed of which types of tissues? That is nervous tissue. Which part of nervous system prepare the body during increased physical activity? Sympathetic nervous system. The question can be twisted and asked that which nervous system activates the increase the activity of the physical body is sympathetic nervous system. Or the question can be asked like this: which nervous system decrease or help in the calming the organs? That is parasympathetic nervous system. Now let us discuss one of the good, not exactly one of the best, while involving the organ. The major organ here we'll be discussing is human brain. Human brain is a highly complex organ which is mainly composed of nervous tissue. These tissue are highly folded to accommodate a large surface area in less space. The brain is covered by three-layered system of membranes called meninges. Cerebrospinal fluid is filled between the meninges. The CS can be shortly mentioned to this word, that is cerebrospinal fluid, provides cushion to the brain against mechanical shock. So the brain is very complex as well very simpler organ to see. So the brain consists of three layers, that is namely called as meninges. So this layer covers the brain in the three form, one above the other, folds. You have seen a beautiful picture of brain where you can see the brain is highly folded because of this multi-layers called meninges. And in this brain compartment, there is a fluid called cerebrospinal fluid, which makes the brain stable and avoids all kinds of shock or mechanical disturbance in the brain. It does not affect the brain from the external stimuli. Further, the brain is housed inside the skull of an optimum protection. So the maximum protection is provided by a skull where the damage to the brain is highly reduced. In rare scenario, the damage or the force of action will be so high that skull may break and the injury may affect the brain. Moving on to the parts of brain, there are three types of parts of the brain, that is forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. So each brain consists of unique structure or unique functioning properties. So let us see what it is. You can see a beautiful human brain structure here. Forebrain is composed of the cerebrum. You can see here the 3/4 of the brain consists of this layer, multiple layer, that is called as cerebrum. Midbrain is composed of hypothalamus. Usually hypothalamus will be present here, and midbrain is composed of cerebellum, pons and medulla oblongata. You can see the grayish part is cerebrum, and stem-like structure protruding from the brain is medulla oblongata. Excuse me. So let us discuss what each part plays its function. Cerebrum. The cerebrum is the largest part in the human brain. It divides into two hemispheres called cerebral hemisphere. So look at my hand. A brain consists of two parts: right hemisphere, left hemisphere. Overall structure. The function of cerebrum. The cerebrum controls the voluntary motor action. It is the site of sensory perceptions like tactile and auditory perceptions. It is the seat for learning and memory. So, whenever cerebrum is a unit in performing one activity at a time. So, keep this in mind, students, that cerebrum performs one work at a time. You may be wondering that how come this is possible. This is very clever and very smart organ of the brain, or the part of the brain which give high concentration of activity. For example, the best example is listening and learning. So whenever you listen to a person or whenever you listen to an online class, you will be focused towards listening, isn't it? So this part of the brain plays an important role in understanding via your auditory motion or auditory listening skills. Along with this, cerebrum helps in the memorizing and memory storing capacity. So hypothalamus. Hypothalamus lies at the base of the cerebrum. It controls sleep and wake cycle, circadian rhythm of the body. So hypothalamus gives a signal that during daytime the body should be active and during night the body should go under rest. That's nothing, sleeping. So the sleeping cycle or the get up, woke up and going back to sleep is known as circadian rhythm in biological terminology. So it also controls the urge for eating and drinking. So it makes us understand that whether we are feeling hungry, when we are not feeling hungry, where we are thirsty and how to quench our thirst. This is controlled by hypothalamus. So moving on to the cerebellum. Cerebellum lies below the cerebrum. So cerebrum is above, below will be the cerebellum. Cerebellum lies below the cerebrum and at the back of the whole structure. If the brain is here, cerebrum will be here, cerebellum. The whole brain consists of cerebellum and the smaller and backward part of the brain consists of cerebellum. It coordinates the motor function. When you are riding your bicycle, the perfect coordination between your pedaling and steering control is achieved by cerebellum. So, cerebellum helps in the multiple tasking at a time. Like, example is best quoted here, that is riding your bicycle, pedaling and steering. So, your hands will be in this angle and your feet or leg will be pedaling. So, simultaneously, you will be make sure that you will be driving the right path along with the pedaling. And meanwhile, you can talk with your neighboring bicycler or you may listen to these songs. So multiple tasks or multiple activities is done by cerebellum part of the brain. So keep in mind, cerebrum helps in single activity, whereas cerebellum helps in multiple activity at a time. So moving on to the medulla. Medulla forms the brain stem along with the pons. It lies at the base of the brain and continues into the spinal cord. So there should be a connection from brain to the spinal cord. So the connection starts with the medulla. Medulla is actually a bridge-like structure or a bridge to nervous system, completes the nervous system while connecting brain and the spinal cord. So medulla controls various involuntary functions like hearing, heartbeats, respiration. So medulla make the body very active and unknowingly controls vital activities. Like breathing is a vital activity which is mainly controlled by medulla. Heartbeat, it is not a voluntary action, where it's an involuntary action which is highly controlled by medulla oblongata. So moving on to the activeness or the respond to the stimuli. So there's a specific term, reflex action. So as you know, you have to action to certain activity, you have to work towards a certain activity, and to achieve this activity the motion or the response is known as reflex action. Now it's early in the 8 o'clock, now you will have to go to your school or you have to go to your college, so you get up early in the morning, that's the response, that you have to go 8 o'clock, you have to attend your class, so that's your response. So you pre-prepare and you will be preparing for going to your school. So this kind of action can be achieved by reflex action. More specifically, I can go with the definition here. Reflex action is a special case of involuntary movement in a voluntary organs. When a voluntary organ is in the vicinity of a sudden danger, it is immediately pulled away from the danger to save itself. So, what I quoted as school-going example was a simple and a daily routine activity. Sometimes you may come across with certain dangers, like all of a sudden you will sit in a park or you sit in a garden, a lizard falls on your hand, you immediately jump or you pull down or go away from the lizard, isn't it? So that stimuli of environment to which you are responding, and with fraction of seconds, response is known as reflex action. So another example I can give here is, you may have seen an iron box which is heat. No matter, obviously you won't go and touch it. You first sense it, isn't it? You will sense it whether it's hot or not. If it is hot, you draw your hand back. If it is cold, you can lift it and place it at the right place. So this kind of stimuli response is known as reflex action. So reflex art, the path through which nerve signal involved in a reflex action travel is called reflex art. So art analyzes or make you understand how to respond to the stimuli. So it gives signal. Now this is an iron box. Whether I should touch it or not, it will give you analytical reasoning or analytical answer to yourself that you have to touch it or not. The action is known as reflex action. The idea to act on that is known as reflex art. So here is a schematic representation of the reflex art or the reflex action. Receptor, sensory neurons, relay neurons, motor neurons, effector, muscles. So receptor, you receive it from your fingers or from your side. You can analyze it whether the object is, the example the iron box is hot or not. The sensory neurons sense it whether it's hot or not. Relay neurons, it gives signals to your brain. Yes, it is cool, we can touch it, or I can lift it and take it away. Motor neurons, again it coordinates, it helps you your muscles to relax and contract and take it away. Effector muscles, the receptor is the organ which comes in the danger zone. So during danger we respond quickly. Such together reflex arc and reflex action occurs. The reflex passes at the level of the spinal cord and the signal involved in the reflex action do not travel up to the brain. This is important because sending signal to the brain would involve more time. Although every action is ultimately controlled by brain, the reflex action is mainly controlled at the level of spinal cord. So you respond immediately. The signal is up to the spinal cord, it does not travel to the brain. Now muscular movement and nervous control. So every organ in body consists of muscles, muscle tissues. So you have to go under the control of muscles. You have to work with the muscles itself. Muscle tissues have a special filaments called actin and myosin. When a muscle receives a nerve signal, a series of events is triggered in muscles. Calcium ions enter the muscle cells. It results in the actin and myosin filaments sliding towards each other, and that is how a muscle contracts. Contraction in the muscle brings movement in the related organ. Like my hand is lifted above, if I want to put it down, there is a release of calcium ions and which initiate the production or filaments action, that is actin and myosin to contract, like I am contracting here. So this is clear with the nervous system. Now let me put some multiple choice questions. How can it be present your exams? Which part of brain controls the movement of our hands? That is cerebellum. Just now I showed you. Memory is stored in which part of the brain? Cerebellum, because it activates only a single activity at a time. Which part of neuron receives signals from an adjacent neuron? Dendrites. So the question can be asked, which part of the brain perform multiple tasks at a time? That will be cerebellum. And which part of the brain connects to the spinal cord? That is medulla oblongata. These are the few more questions can be asked. So moving on to the endocrine system. Endocrine system is composed of several endocrine glands. A ducted gland is called endocrine glands. Sometimes there is always an assumption in biology where each part or each simple chemical or protein comes into picture where we can see its particular unique property. Here also, not only nervous system plays a major role, along with that, certain hormones which is produced by endocrine gland comes into picture. Endocrine gland secretes its product directly into the bloodstream. So usually these glands produce their minute quantity of hormones. They are nothing but proteins which directly enters into the blood and perform a particular activity at a time. So let me tell you which are those activity and which are those hormones and which are those glands which perform particular functions. Like hormone assist the nervous system in control and coordination. Sometimes you may be still, but your body will be performing chemically such minute quantity chemicals which make you do work is nothing but hormones. Nerves do not reach to every knob and corner of the body, and hence hormones are needed to affect control and coordination in those parts. See how beautiful the biology is. Even the simple molecule of a chemical perform a major function in the overall body. Because the nervous cells are the nervous system could not reach each and every corner of the body. So here are the few organs, endocrine glands, which perform or which secrete certain hormones and help the complete control and coordination of human physiology or any other complex animal physiology. So pituitary glands. Location at the base of the brain. Hormone is growth hormone or in short GH, thyroid stimulating hormone TSH, follicular stimulating hormone FSH. The function, growth hormone stimulates growth, thyroid stimulating function of thyroid gland, follicular stimulating hormones stimulates the follicular during ovulation. So pituitary gland is also known as master's gland because it is situated in the brain and it helps to development of other endocrine glands like thyroid gland, adrenal gland, pancreas, testes, ovary, etc. So it also helps in the development and growth of the endocrine gland, hence it is known as master's glands. So keep in mind that major hormones like growth hormone of thyroid, growth hormone, thyroid stimulating hormone, follicular stimulating hormones. Let me explain you the effect and hyper and hypo effects of these particular glands. So whenever the normal concentration of growth hormone is produced, the child will grow normally. Where excess of growth hormone is produced, the child may reach up to the feet of 8 to 10 feet. Where if the growth hormone is present in very less concentration, the effect will be hypo growth hormones that will result in dwarfness. You may have come across with certain people you would have seen, they will be average up to 2 to 3 feet in height, isn't it? That is due to less amount or less concentration of growth hormones. Like, let me tell you about next hormone, that is thyroid stimulating hormone. Thyroid is very important gland which help in the absorption of iodine or help in the production of tyrosine. Let me tell you tyrosine function later, but give a detailed and quite quick explanation of thyroid gland. So thyroid is major which absorb iodine, as we are familiar with it. So pituitary glands produce a hormone which help in the growth of thyroid gland. So whenever the thyroid gland TSF, thyroid stimulating hormone is produced in excess, there is a formation of goiter. That will be the neck region will be swollen like anything. Usually the size of a thyroid gland is 2 to 3 centimeter. When it is excess in the growth hormone is, of thyroid is excess in amount, the goiter is formed which is nearly 5 to 8 centimeter in length. So the neck will be swollen. Whenever there is a very less concentration of thyroid stimulating hormone, the reverse occurs, vice versa. The thyroid gland does not absorb iodine and there will be a deficiency of the iodine and the thyroid gland will be smaller, like probably 2 centimeter in length. So again, moving on to the following hormone, that is follicular stimulating hormone. This is usually produced during ovulation in females. This helps in the maturation of the or release of follicular tubes, which helps in the release of ova or the egg. So this follicle will be immature until and unless this hormone, follicular stimulating hormones, come and die. And once the follicle receives this hormone, it generates or mature into a special follicle that is known as Raphian follicles, which finally releases the ova or the egg in the females. Moving on to the second, thyroid gland. As I told you the pros and cons of the excessive production of thyroid stimulating hormones, let me not tell you that. Let me tell you the function of thyroxine. First of all, what is thyroxine? You should keep in mind this hormone plays in role of absorbing iodine, and this hormone produced by combination of two atoms or two molecules of iodine. So this thyroxine helps in the control, general metabolism and growth in the body. Overall, ions are very much important in the functioning of sensory organs. So you may have seen your doctor saying that consume lots of minerals, vitamins and all types of trace elements, minerals, isn't it? That is because whenever there is a lack of minerals like iodine, calcium and all, we may come across with the anatomical defects or physiological misfunctioning. Whenever there is a reduction in ions, you will be having defects like ear defects, sight defects and so many others. So thyroxine helps in the controlling the general metabolism of overall body. Moving on to the third gland, that is adrenal gland, located above kidney. Kidney is a vein-like structure. Above which there will be a gland that is known as adrenal gland. Adrenaline is the name of the hormone. Prepare the body for emergency situations and hence it is also called fight and flight hormones. So this only comes into action whenever you come across with a danger. Like few people will be afraid of heights. Like whenever they come at the peak of the mountain or a hill, they start sweating because the body and the adrenal gland will produce a hormone adrenaline, which make the mind to come back from that particular peak or the cliff of the mountain to step back and protect themselves. Hence, the fight and flight occurs. So usually, fighting hormone also we can call. Whenever an emergency situation comes, a fire in the building or some accident you come across, or you may feel some animal like stray rabies dog is coming behind you, chasing you, immediately you feel against it, or you go against it, fight against the stimuli. Such during that activity, this hormone come into picture, that is adrenaline. Another name for adrenaline is an emergency hormone. So keep in mind, adrenaline or emergency hormone are fight and flight hormone. So pancreas, near the stomach, it is a very beautiful organ, just like a corn in shape. It produces insulin, control the blood sugar level. So insulin is very much important, where it helps in the modulation of blood sugar level. Whenever there is a drop in sugar level, you will be tired, you will be feeling oxia and you will be always sleepy, very inactive kind of person. Whenever there is more in number, obviously then also it is very difficult. That does not mean that you will be hyperactive. No, that means that the blood and the kidney is not able to utilize the glucose and excess glucose or the sugar level is present in the blood and which lead to diabetes. The urine consists of excess of sugar or nothing but glucose. So it results in the defect. that is known as meningitis or diabetes. Meningitis. Testis in male, its location will be in sacrotum, testosterone, sperm production, development of secondary sexual character during puberty. So as a child or a male boy ages after 14, 15, it enters into a stage called puberty where testosterones are produced and which help in the production of sperms and secondary sexual characters like mustache, beard will be appearing on the face of the boy. Moving on to the another endocrine gland, that is ovary in female near uterus. The hormone is estrogen. Estrogen helps in the egg production, development of sexual secondary character during puberty. So you may be wondering what may be the difference between estrogens and follicular stimulating hormones. Estrogens helps in the production of egg, while follicular helps in the passage of the, it's a passage, it is a tube-like structure. From the ovary, the egg is produced and via the follicular tubes, it passes to the uterus where it gets into fertilization. That's a wonderful chapter which will be dealing in further classes about human fertilization. So keep in mind, estrogens helps in the production of eggs in the females. So here I wind up from the animal physiology, that is control and coordination. The coordination in plants, let me carry on this in the next class. For today, I wind up. Thank you everybody.